Okay, so I want to talk a bit more about the term American Single Malt, right? It's a term that we use at Westward. It's something I think we're seeing a lot more of these days, and there's good reason for that. So, in 2016, we were a founding member of the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission. The idea being that, like, hey, look, there's this new category of whiskey that people are making here in the US, and we want to just give people a better idea of what that means. And also protect the category, because a lot of the people making single malt these days are actually small brands, small craft distillers. So we wanted to make sure that we could define and also protect the category. But really just mainly for consumer education, for people to understand what that term even means, since it is a new term for whiskey here in the States. So we formed the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission, and we essentially sat down as a group and talked about, all right, what are those standards of identity? Like, what does it mean to be an American single malt? Now, we wanted to be careful to not be too restrictive. We feel that, creativity is really essential to the category, and that we didn't want to stifle creativity. So we wanted to have some standards that, as I said, educated and protect the category, but then weren't, so restrictive that we lost the creative element of what American single malt can be. So there's basically 6 standards. They're all pretty straightforward and simple. So one is, for it to be called American Single Malt, must be 100% malted barley that it's made from. Pretty obvious. The second one is made entirely at one single distillery here in the US, right? We're calling it American Single Malt. That's where it should come from. It should come from one distillery. Now, that doesn't mean that another distillery or brand can't then purchase that whiskey and bottle it themselves, but it should just be coming from one source. One of those other standards is that it goes into oak casks, no larger than 700 liters. So it's more about what we're not saying here than what we are. We're saying that the whiskey, it doesn't have to be aged in new oak. It can be aged in used or new, and any size cask up to 700 liters. Bigger than that, it feels like the wood influence really just isn't going to be enough. And so that, to me, leaves it open as far as, size of container, new, used, but then also no age statement, right? That's also something that we want to just leave up to the creator, up to the maker of that whiskey. A couple others, we borrowed from both bourbon and single malt whiskey, and that is more sort of like how you're actually making it. So one being not to be distilled over 160 proof, or about 80%. It seems to be like it's just maybe a little too neutral if you're collecting a lot higher than that. The other being that it's bottled at no less than 80 proof or 40%. And these are pretty standard, kind of ubiquitous standards that you find in whiskey, both here and abroad. And so, we want this category to be something new and exciting, but also familiar, right? And so in this way, I feel like we're paying homage to, and we're giving some respect to a few traditional whiskey practices, but then leaving it open for more experimentation. At Westward, we feel that the future of whiskey can be more exciting than its past, right? And that we want to continue to move things forward, push boundaries, experiment with flavor, production, how we use our casks, the influences that we have. And so, in setting down these standards, you want to be careful, as I said, to not restrict creativity, because I think that's probably the most exciting thing about this category is, involvement in whiskey, and in that way kind of breaking up the homogeneity, right? If everyone starts making whiskey the same way, it's all going to start to taste the same. So bring variety, bring new flavors, bring new ideas, and we get more delicious whiskey out there. But that's a quick rundown of American Single Malt, why we do what we do. The term is actually with the TTB in the government. It's gotten complete support everywhere, and so now we're just kind of waiting for it to be ratified, which is pretty exciting. This is an actual new defined term for American whiskey. This will be the first American whiskey term introduced into law since the term Tennessee whiskey. So pretty big deal, and something that we're really excited to have been, a part of from the beginning, pioneering this new style of whiskey. And we'll see what it holds for the future. Cheers.